Appreciate you all's time today. We always want to thank you all for your important role in getting information to our communities. I am joined today by our fire chief of the city of Atlanta, Chief Rod Smith, and then ATF ASAC Bo Kalatka. And so thank you, sir, for being with us today. We've asked you together at Public Safety Headquarters for a couple reasons. We want to announce and increase the reward money that's being offered to solve a series of arson attacks that occurred here in the city of Atlanta in an effort to stop the construction of a public safety training center. And we have a photograph that we want to show you because we believe you have an important role in getting that out to the community. We are at a pivotal point where we're wanting to advance an investigation into a courtroom. And so we are going to be showing a photograph today that will assist in that investigation, and we want to increase the reward money to encourage citizens to be a part of ending this criminal activity that has been in our city for the last year. So if you will look to my left, you will see on the screen, I'm going to show you a photograph that is related to two events that occurred earlier this year. July, we had two incidents that occurred in the city. We had an attempted firebombing at a police precinct at 890 Memorial Drive, and then we had an actual arson attack that occurred at 180 Southside Industrial Parkway. The individuals that you see here in this photograph are those that we believe are likely responsible. They are persons of interest in these investigations. And so individuals that may be watching your news broadcast, reading your story, we ask them to take note of the clothing, the individuals. We believe there are those out there that have information that will assist us in shoring up our investigation. I'm going to walk through a series of fire attacks and attempted fire attacks that have occurred in our city for the last year, which we believe this same group is likely responsible for. Going to go back to 890 Memorial Drive. This is our precinct that protects the beltline of our city, which many of our residents use to recreate and move about. This was an attempt, we believe, to set the vehicles on fire at this location, a fusee that was dropped at the location. We were fortunate that this attack was thwarted by a very observant citizen that interrupted the incident. And Chief Smith, I know you can join in at certain times on our concerns that you have as fire chief of had these attacks been successful, what would have occurred?
So definitely what we have here is the use of potentially destructive devices, and make no mistakes, it is arson. And so once we have events like this to occur, especially a chain of those events, it raises the level of urgency. We have the potential to put our public in harm's way, disruption to public services to the city of Atlanta, and we simply won't tolerate it. And so we have been working with our partners, with ATF as well as APD, to make sure that we get to the bottom of what is actually going on as it relates to the arson investigations.
We're going to go to the next event. Some of you have covered this already. This was the, again, interrupted thanks to a police officer, the attack on our police precinct at 180 Southside Industrial. There were over 40 police vehicles that were targeted in this attack. You see the device, the suspected potential destructive device at the screen. We believe this holds accelerants with an improvised ignition device on the top, a sponge, a wick of a that is there, and then a book of matches. This intent was to destroy all vehicles, and there was a police officer inside the precinct at the time this occurred. Had these vehicles been set on fire, the entire precinct would have been ignited. Remember, the individuals whose picture we just showed you are persons of interest in this arson attack as well. Let's go to the next photograph as well. We've also had construction equipment targeted twice in our city, in April and in July of this year. These are a construction company that is associated with the construction of our fire and police training facility. We believe the individuals whose photographs we showed you have information that will lead this investigation from the investigation phase into the courtroom. This occurred, and we're going to show you another photograph as well. This occurred in July. Again, fire attacks being conducted by a very small group of individuals who are using violence, intimidation, and fear to stop the construction of a facility that will benefit every neighborhood of our city. And then finally, and this was, again, the next fire attack that we want to highlight, and these all will be connected with the reward increase that we're getting ready to announce, is the attack, the arson attack that occurred in May of last year of the At Promise Center on Cameron Alexander Boulevard here in our city. We have reason to believe, based on statements of responsibility made by groups, also investigative information that we currently hold, that the same group is likely responsible for the various arson attacks that occurred here in the city. And I would like to ask this time to come to the podium. And Chief, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to these arson investigations. I will say this, and I think, Chief, you'll concur with this. The intent of every one of these attacks was destruction beyond what occurred. We were fortunate that the devices didn't go as beyond their desired construction. They were interrupted by citizens, police officers, but the intent was a gutted youth center, and the intent was a destruction of a police precinct and of police resources while a police officer was inside. And the intent was destruction of resources that patrol the beltline of our city. That has been the intent every single time in an effort to create fear around the training center's construction. And so the fact that they didn't succeed, we're blessed for. And our effort is to ask the citizens to assist us so this group cannot strike again in a manner that they've been targeting our city.
In addition to what the chief has said, what you see here at the At Promise Center, this is an attack on our community. This is a center that was built to support the youth of the city of Atlanta and to give them somewhere to go in the after hours and to keep them off the streets. And what this does is it disrupts as well as public safety services that are provided to the city. The damage that you see that has occurred across the city had the potential of millions of dollars of damage and taxpayer money. And we simply do not want to stand by at ease and let this continue to occur. So I'm proud to work with our partners to hopefully bring resolve to this quickly.
Thanks, Chief. Our partners have been the ATF, the FBI, and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. And we are pleased to have with us today the Assistant SAC of the Atlanta ATF Field Office, Bo Kolodka. And Bo, we appreciate you being here this morning. I think you have information that you want to bring and share from your agency as well.
Yes, sir. Just quickly, we're increasing our reward from $5,000 to $10,000 for any information that leads to the arrest and conviction of these individuals responsible for this. As you know, our immediate concern is the public safety. Arson is a crime of violence and not only damages property, but it also puts members of the general public and our first responders in harm's way. Making our communities safe is ATF's and our partners' #1 priority. And we are hopeful that members of the public, with result of these rewards, will provide some critical information in identifying these individuals. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Appreciate it, sir. In addition to the increase announced by the Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms Bureau, the Crime Stoppers reward is now being increased from $10,000 to $50,000. And so this is a total reward leading to information on any of the arson attacks that we just showed of $60,000 to help us advance this case from the investigation phase into a courtroom so individuals that have been targeting our city can be held accountable. And I want to make this very clear. For those that have legitimate concerns about the construction of a training center, how tax dollars are used, green space uses, we will continue as a department to protect those First Amendment rights repeatedly, daily, whenever they may occur. This is not about the protection of the First Amendment. This is intimidation, this is fear, this is destruction, and this is targeting key assets that protect this city. From our belt line to our motors unit, we protect parades and events throughout the city, to a youth center, and then a construction company that is investing in the advancement of this city. $60,000 to help us identify the individuals, to give us the last push we need to bring it from an investigative phase into a courtroom. And I appreciate you being here today to highlight this information, to get it out to your readers and your viewers, and we ask for their help in this case. And Shad, I think we're going to take some questions at this time that you all may have.
Chief, how have you, as you conduct your investigation, how were these people able to get into those precincts and do this that you described as acts of violence?
So we obviously are looking at every aspect of the investigation. On the police precinct, they tried to use the dark of night. We know a citizen saw them at one. We know one of our officers interrupted them on another. This is a group that will use a variety of means to carry out their criminal acts. And so some of that is related to our investigation, so we don't want to reveal it now. That will be revealed in a courtroom. But we are looking at every aspect, and where we believe there may be an area that someone may be attempting to exploit, we have shored that up, and we're working to ensure that we're protecting the assets of the citizens of Atlanta.
Chief, we've asked you this before, but just remind me, why do you believe these are all connected to people who are against the training center? What evidence connects all of these? They look kind of independent, but what ties them all together?
Certainly. Well, we know on certain sites individuals have claimed responsibility. individuals that have said we are going to use violence and we want to stop this project. They have claimed responsibility for each of those. There are other things that we have that believe that they're not lying when they say it, that we are holding as an investigative tool, and we want to keep that close until we reveal it in a courtroom. But when you lay claim to it, we believe them. And when you say, when you build it, we will burn it, we're seeing fire already being used across the board to be able to stop this project. So I think we take them at their word that they were responsible, and then we'll be ready to prove it in a courtroom.
Do you have any reason to believe this group has done this before in a different scenario outside of police?
Well, we will leave that to our federal partners to determine if they are active elsewhere in the country. Right now, we're talking about Atlanta, Georgia. Citizens of this city that have seen a youth center targeted, have seen their police precincts targeted, and a construction company trying to be forced out of the project. I'm here to talk about what is happening to Atlantans, what a group, a very small group, and I want to be very clear about that, a very small group is doing to use fear and intimidation and criminal acts to stop an investment in the safety of our city.
Chief, are you worried, I mean, as your investigation continues, there's the ballot referendum initiative. They have over 20,000 signatures at this point. It could be up to Atlanta voters to decide if this training center is inevitably built. Are you concerned that the public support is there for this?
I am all about this city. I see the public support for a quality police and fire department. I am confident that the citizens of this city desire to have a professional police and fire department that is equipped and trained to serve for every emergency. So I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about is someone being hurt or killed if this group isn't stopped. And what I am worried about is one of these attacks goes to the natural conclusion that it was intended on, and the citizens of this city see an important asset destroyed that they depend on in their time of need, which is a 911 call. That is what I'm concerned about.
Chief, you've mentioned a couple of times taking this from an arrest to a courtroom. Have you talked to the AG's office? Have you talked to the DA's office about what possible charges they can face if these people are caught? I know for the past year, some of these opponents of the training center have gotten domestic terrorism charges. Is that something you're seeking?
As we prepare any investigation, there is consultation with the prosecuting authority over the appropriate charges. That happens in anything from an armed robbery to a murder to these arson attacks. So at the appropriate time, we do confer with the prosecutor to see what the right charge is for accountability.
Why are you increasing it now? Like, obviously, the last incidents from these were around July 4th, I think. What's the urgency of increasing the reward right now?
For a couple reasons. We know there's individuals out there that have information that is pivotal to this case. And I want to stress this. If this group is not stopped, they are likely to strike again. It's been a youth center, it's been 2 police precincts, it has been construction sites. What is next? Where will they go next to take this arson tool across our city? And we need to be very mindful as a community, this group needs to be stopped, they need to be identified, and they need to be held accountable.
And do you believe it's the same individuals in each one of these cases? Because I think you mentioned on the construction site that you thought they had information that led to the construction arson?
We believe there's commonality in each of these attacks of individuals that have information and were likely involved.
Chief, one more quick question. This is just regarding some of the security measures we're seeing down at the courthouse. Is your department assisting in any of those increased security that we're going to see in the next several weeks?
You know,
We're here only to talk about this incident. We'll talk about that later. This is not the time that you'll have to direct that really to Fulton County. But let's focus on why we're here today.
On the construction sites, have you talked to the constructor? Is the constructor still committed to the project, working on the project, or are they taking a step back now that they're concerned that their equipment is being attacked?
You know, we're fortunate that in addition to the broad community support in Atlanta, there's individuals that know and believe in proper response to a 911 call. So we're very fortunate that the companies are staying with the project, want to see it through, want to do their part for a safer Atlanta. And that's why it's important that this group be identified, so they cannot be successful in intimidating someone out of something that is so important for our city.
Why do you think people aren't coming forward?
I'm sorry?
Why do you think people aren't coming forward? I mean, if you believe people have information, why aren't they?
I can't speak for those, sir. But we want people to do the right thing.
Fire chief, has any of the facilities for the fire department, because this training center is also for the fire department, been targeted or being involved in any of this?
So up to this point, we have had no threats. However, the disruption has impacted our ability to serve the community.
In what way? What ways?
When you have an event such as this, you tie up several resources. If you look at the Southside event, what you had is a full incident response, which required a total of about 7 to 8 pieces of equipment of upwards of 40 people. responding to that event. And so these are the calls that take our resources away that potentially are in place to service the citizens of Atlanta.
And how is ATF involved in this? How is ATF helping out the
So
local?
because it is arson, and it has the potential to be a federal case, we partner with ATF in all arson events such as this.
Has the motorcycles and the cars been replaced yet, Chief?
We're working to get that done, sir. We're making the necessary adjustments to protect our city.